Hopefully you guys are having a good one out there. And if your day sucks, I hope that it gets better for you. So I've talked a lot about how drastically our lives have changed ever since having a little baby. But we don't talk often about how the relationship changes with your partner. And Daniel has been asking me to do this episode basically since her birth. So I wanted to give him the mic for a bit. And yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
But I do think that this is something that's overlooked pretty frequently when people think about having kids. But I don't know. I feel like your marriage or your relationship does carry a lot of the invisible load from kids, and it doesn't always get the attention that it deserves. And so people have asked, like, how our marriage has been since the baby. And one person that does not have kids, obviously, was like, oh, I've heard you fall so much more in love with your partner when you have a baby. Is that true? And it makes you so much closer. And I feel like that is not really true. I feel like that's the romanticized social media take of a marriage post-childbirth, but it's just, like, it's not reality. That's just like that. I feel like that just doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, right, with having a baby, and things change in life. I feel like we both are people that value sleep. And
yes.
when it comes to obviously doing that, I will admit that you do take the load quite. I think it was pretty even, or not really even, but like it was a lot better the first 3 months when I was on paternity leave, and then obviously ever since, like, you have been able to take the load, which I do highly appreciate. But I know it's really bad. Like the other night when she woke up, like it seemed like every freaking 30 minutes to an hour for that one day, and you got to the point where you were like, you're gonna go do it this time. And so I'm like, oh shoot, okay. But yeah, it just, I think it's definitely, something that, it takes getting used to. And it seems like with it, you get to that point where you're like, okay, cool, I think you got to figure it out. Like, this or that. And then, oh, that was just level 60. Here comes level, whatever the next level is. And it's just like a new challenge every day. But
well, yeah, I mean, having a kid is hard. Like, it's stressful. It's exhausting. Everything changes. Your body changes. Your priorities change. Your attention changes. All of it. And I don't know. I feel like if you go through the postpartum trenches with a supportive, loving partner, and if you're both fully invested, I think that you can come out the other side stronger because you both went through something difficult together. But it's not like an automatic given of, oh, just had a baby? Wow, I love my husband so much. Like, it absolutely, like, it takes work. It takes a mutual understanding of what is going to happen and, like, what to expect. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's difficult. But I found a 2021 study from the American Psychological Association Psychological Bulletin, and it dove into relationship success rates and, more importantly, satisfaction rates. And on average, relationship satisfaction fluctuates over time, obviously, but it does decline during the first 10 years of being together, baby or not. But throughout the trajectory, the satisfaction is lower for parents than for non-parents. And, love this, the more children the couple has, the less likely they are to feel satisfied in their relationship. And shocker, but mothers of infants are the least happy. I wonder why.
Dad's over here just living his life. Best life, huh?
Yeah, but no, this study found that 38% of married moms have high satisfaction compared to the 62% of married women without kids. So overall, this 2021 study found that 1/5 of couples break up within 12 months after having a baby. So,
damn. And are you on the 32 or the 68? Like, am I asking the right questions here?
well, so let's look at the why, right? And I'm sure this isn't really a surprise when you think about it, but like I said, I don't think it's talked about enough. But the most common reasons for couples separating were obviously dwindling sex lives, lack of communication, and constant arguments. That was the top 3 reasons listed in that 2021 survey. And those top 3 reasons are also considered protective factors in a relationship normally. And so obviously if those are lacking, then the relationship itself will absolutely feel that strain. But additionally, like you said, the study mentions sleep deprivation, financial anxiety, involvement levels of each partner with the baby, adjusting to new responsibilities, unmet expectations, differences in parenting styles, lack of support, postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, and like 8 other reasons for the personal divide in that relationship. And this study goes on to talk about how protecting and preparing their relationship for a baby should be a priority right alongside prepping the nursery, but let's be real, that just doesn't happen.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that like the mindset going into it for like me personally, the hardest part is like, so obviously with the women, you know, you carry it, you have that bond, and then whether you do breastfeed or not, like it's just the natural instinct of the mother and the baby to, you know, be like that. And I think you brought it up where I don't know what exactly it was and whether it was amount of time or not, but just how it's difficult for the dad to really bond with the baby until they get like a little older. And I think it was really true even when we were first obviously like had her, you know, and she was born, because it's like it is a huge change in your life, you know, like there was a lot of things that you kind of have to adjust around. And I think, I mean, I feel like at least me personally, I think you've been killing this since the beginning. I feel like I just finally gotten to that point. Like, you know, you got drill weekend, so you're, you know, it's the third one, so you're working tomorrow and Sunday, and I got her all to myself. And it's like, you know, not that I didn't look forward to the other ones, but I remember just being kind of like, you know, like the constant like, oh, like I got to work 5 days, and then I got to take care of her for 2 days, and then work again. But I think like it was just a mindset thing. And, you know, like tomorrow and Sunday, I'm actually more looking forward to it because it's just like, you know, it's my daughter. And like, not that I didn't love her before, but it's just very like, she's growing on me, you know? And she's just like, I don't know, just seeing her grow up so fast. Like, I can't believe it's already April from October. And like, all the little things, you know, you're sending me the pictures and videos of like, oh, she's doing this now or that. And she's talking. And I just gotta, you know, think to myself like, hey, let's stop and smell the flowers, right? Like, let's really enjoy each and every single moment, especially these weekends, because then it's just me and her. And like, I mean, I think you can say this too, like the past couple weeks to months, she's been really like noticing me more, I guess. I don't know if it's because her vision was like blurry before or whatever it was, but like, you know, when I come home and stuff and she's like, ooh, all smiley and everything, and she's like finally noticing me, and it's just, I don't know, it makes me so excited for the future.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, because I saw a study about that, and I think that's the one that you're talking about that I shared with you, where the oxytocin levels in the mom are released when we basically care, cuddle, and nurture the baby, which includes a lot of nursing and things of that nature. But the dad's oxytocin levels peak when they are playing with their kid. And so obviously right in the beginning, when they're just in a potato stage, they aren't really playing. They're not really interacting that much. And so I can get my oxytocin levels from her just from cuddling and contact napping and stuff. But for you and for dads, I think it's a little bit harder right off the bat because you aren't able to really truly like play with them and interact with them. But now that you can, I think that's why you're seeing that spike in honestly satisfaction with, you know. Plus I did see too, I don't think it was Ryan Reynolds, but it was some like super popular celebrity, and he was like, yeah, I didn't like really truly love my kids until they were about 9 months old. Kind of for that same reason, because that's just when the dads start really feeling that bond with them. But that's why I wanted to do this episode too, just to normalize the conversation, and like I've always said a million times, just talk about it, and just to kind of prep yourselves if any of y'all are thinking about having kids. Because like that study said, more than 60% of new parents admitted to feeling, quote, unprepared for the huge impact having a baby would have on their life, unquote. And so this next category, one of those top 3 reasons of why people usually separate within a year after giving birth, is the intimacy factor. And this is probably the big one that I'm sure is on everyone's mind. You want to get into it? You cool with getting into it?
Yeah.
I'm breaking like every Korean social standard and norm right now by talking about sex openly and publicly. But you know what? We're going to do it. Because again, I feel like you guys you should be made aware of this information before the baby comes. So that way you can be prepared and you can tackle it head on. I don't want to see y'all struggle, and like, this is going to happen. And so I think it is important to be open and honest about it, and not just romanticize it and glorify it for the aesthetic like you see on social media. So there are a lot of layers with this too. But point blank, and I think you can probably agree with this too, Daniel, don't expect your sex life to be the same as it was before. For a while.
Yeah.
For who knows how long. And even during pregnancy, not even just after pregnancy, but like during pregnancy, like, it's not the same. And depending on how much like morning sickness you get or anything like that, like when I was super early on pregnant and really nauseous and you were trying to do the dirty and like the rocking motion was like making me queasy, and I was like, bro, this is not it.
It ain't it.
It ain't it, yeah.
Yeah.
But let's talk about postpartum though. So the docs will clear you at 6 weeks. I'm pretty sure no matter what. Like, it doesn't matter what shape you're in, they're going to clear you at 6 weeks. They didn't care about my dramatic weight loss concerns. They didn't care about my diastasis recti. I can never say that right. Any of my questions about that, it's where your abs separate from your abdominal wall.
Yeah.
And so all of your core muscles are like torn. You have to like repair them. Anyway,
Jeez.
They didn't care about that. They didn't care about any exercise questions. All they cared about was, are you good to have sex with your husband again? Which, like I said, I got the feeling that they would say yes no matter what. Because I had only just stopped bleeding. And when she felt me up, she was like, yeah, the tissue still feels a little tender and thin, but just use lube and you'll be fine. And I'm like, no thank you. No ma'am. And she's like, oh yeah, if you start bleeding a lot, you can just call the provider or just come into the ER. And I'm like, no thank you. No. Yeah. I'm not interested in that. And even like well after I was healed up, it's still, I don't know, it's just like, it's like scary,
I mean, I don't know, but I could, could imagine.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, think about if you broke a bone or if you just had a surgery or like if you sprained your ankle, anything like that.
Oh, yeah.
And then once you're freshly healed, you're still pretty cautious of putting a ton of weight on it or using it, whatever.
Oh, yeah. Even
if it doesn't actually hurt anymore, you have that like protective mental block of like, but what if it will hurt? I don't know. It's definitely a very mental thing, but it's just, I don't know. That's just how I feel, That's just how I feel. But it's also, I don't know. She's almost 6 months old, but it really is going by so fast. So I feel like it was yesterday that I was squeezing something the size of a watermelon out of something the size of a lemon. And so I'm like, So obviously that does not encourage a lot of intimacy every single day. But then also consider the obvious, right? You're not going to be in the mood if you're exhausted from being up all night with the baby, or if you're still listening for the baby, if she's going to cry, if they're going to wake up or not. Also, let's talk about the crazy hormone drop in the mom after birth. That won't help either. And then add in any residual grudges because he has useless nipples or because mom prioritizes baby.
Hey, I've tried. She just won't take it. Sorry.
But there's a million reasons. The self-esteem issues of, okay, our body looks different now after the baby, and the concern of whether we're going to be the same down there or not, if it's going to feel the same for our partners or not, whether our partners still find us attractive or not. Like, all of this adds up, and it's something to consider. It's something to keep in mind and to probably have the conversation about beforehand so you can kind of be on the same page. And the other aspect that was huge in essentially the lack of the protective factors in the relationship was the division of responsibility with the new baby. And let's just say right now, it's not equal. It's never going to be equal, never truly equal, especially if there's any amount of breastfeeding or pumping going on. And I did do an episode on the mental load So check out episode 40 if you missed it. And having a baby is like 1,000,000% mental load and decision fatigue, and that'll bring your ass down faster than anything, I think.
Yeah, and I think this is definitely something to touch up on because it's like, again, getting that perspective too, right, of you being able to go to drill weekend and like having her the whole day and being like, cool, maybe I'll go wash my uniforms or I'll do homework or even like just sitting like watching TV or something. And it's like, if she wants to be held, right? Like if it's one of those days where she's like chilling, if she finally get her to take a nap and then the moment you even twitch and it's just immediate like wake up and you're like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, how do you do this every freaking day? Like there's another level of respect that I didn't know I could have for you. And I'm like, and again, like, you know, maybe someday she's like just chilling and obviously there's other days, whatever it is. But yeah, like you said, mental load and like, I mean, again, she's been pretty good with me on those weekends so far, but for me, it was 2 days out of the month, right? That's a very, very short amount of time. Whereas, like it's literally your job, you know. And you going to reserve weekend is technically your break, which kind of sounds crazy, but it's the truth. And so I think that just like the perspective, because like, for example, like if you know most people do get pregnant if they're working, you know, or you know, doing whatever it is now that's not being a mother and then going into it and just being kind of prepared for that of like, now I get why there's some days where you're like, the moment I walk in and I'm like, basically take out my uniform and come down, it's like, please just hold her just for like, even like 10 minutes, you know? Like, let me get a little bit of a break. And it's like, oh my goodness, like, it's real.
Oh yeah. I don't know. I feel like all of those reasons listed in the study, they all stem back to mental load and decision fatigue in some way or another. And there's also a lot of uneven expectations from society on new moms and new dads. And we did that episode 42, I believe, if you guys want to take a deep dive on that. But all of this to say, it can be super, super easy to fall into the trap of angst and resentment against your partner and holding grudges because, well, why does he get to go to the gym and I don't get my time and I have to ask permission basically to go take a shower and do self-care time and he doesn't. And it'll go on forever if you're not careful. And trust me, I think that there's absolutely some truth to those feelings. I've had them too. However, I do think that dads have their own set of struggles, and in their own way, they can be invisible struggles too. And so I saw a video on Instagram the other day, and it said, motherhood is overwhelming, fatherhood is lonely. And that hit hard, I thought, because I thought about it, and while the mom is resenting the dad because she's up with the screaming baby, again, nursing, again, rocking the baby to sleep, again, and the dad's just like outside the door with useless nipples, not able to do anything. And let me add in here, there's a lot that dads can do. There's a lot that they can help with. And I fully encourage that. We don't want no bums in our lives. I don't condone lazy fatherhood, but there is some stuff that dads just aren't able to help with. And I saw another Instagram video of a couple talking about how postpartum was super tough for them because they were so used to having an equal division of labor around the house, splitting bills, chores, all that stuff, right? And they were like, nah, it's all going to be fair and equal. And then the mom said postpartum is the most unequal labor ever. Because she was like, I've got to heal. Only I can heal myself. Like, he can't help with that. Sure, he can bring me water, cook me food, but he can't put my uterus back into place. Like, he can't heal the dinner plate-sized hole where my placenta was. Like, he can't balance out my hormones. That's just something I have to do that he doesn't have to do as well. And I thought that was a really good point, too. Like, we can't expect it to be equal. It's gonna be like a pendulum, sort of, for life and responsibilities of like, hey, right now I need more support. I need you to carry some for the team.
Yeah, and I think, like you just said, like, team, right? That's the big one. I mean, again, I think everyone's probably been in some form of a team or another where it's like, yo, like, you ain't carrying your weight. and especially in a team where it's just us two, like there's a lot of pressure to be like, I gotta try and be that partner 100% of the time, right? And it goes both ways. And it's like, it's easy to focus on like the couple times where it's not happening because, again, you're overwhelmed and it's a lot. And then like, if I'm not doing something or vice versa, right? Like if I'm overwhelmed and doing stuff, and then it's just easy to be like, oh my gosh, like, do you ever help, or what's this or that? And it's just, yeah, again, I can't remember who said it, but I remember asking someone, but way before we were parents or out there, like, how would you explain parenthood? And they were just like, the highs are like highs. Like, there's nothing like it, right? Like, the highest of highs. But when it's low, they're like, that crap is low, low. And I think it's, like, fairly accurate for the most part. And, like, yeah, like, there's nothing like waking her up in the morning when you're still in sleep, and I'm like coming back from the gym, and like I can hear her, like cooing and stuff. So I come up, and it's still dark, so she can't see me. But I like call her name, and then I can see like the glimmer of a smile in the light, and she knows it's me, and she starts doing her little shaky shake, exciting thing.
Oh yeah.
And then it's also like that same 4 hours before when there's that cry at 2 a.m. And it's like, oh my goodness, Like,
oh yeah.
I have not slept hardly at all tonight. But again, I can't complain because she's a pretty good sleeper for the most part. Let's be real here.
She is a pretty good sleeper.
But there are those nights, and so it's just, yeah, we just want to make sure that everyone's kind of, again, like you said. I mean, if you're following social media and stuff, everyone likes to romanticize stuff, and I'm like, let's be real here, yo. Like, life is hard as crap, and like, whether you don't have a baby or not, right? Like, life is hard as it is, and I just want to make sure there ain't no misconceptions out there. Like, this is absolutely the most rewarding thing that I have ever done and probably ever will do, but it is also still like the hardest thing,
Mm-hmm.
Like, I put like, as hard as like recruiting might be, like this is definitely it's up there, but I mean, this is more rewarding than recruiting, right? Let's just be real here. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. I feel like all in all, just like everything else I talk about on this podcast, personally, I think the more you talk about it, the more you normalize these difficult and tough situations, the better it can be managed overall. And that's, I think, why I was always, when I was pregnant, I was always bombarding you with a bunch of, like, information all the time. And you were kind of like, nah, like, we'll figure it out when we get there. But that's them, that's not us. And that's their baby, not our baby, and blah, blah, blah. Or, that's for a 9-month-old, and we haven't even had her yet, blah, blah, blah. But I was like, no, let's go over all this information now so we know what to expect, so we know what's kind of coming. Yeah, just talk about all of it. Talk about how your intimacy will probably tank after a baby, and be okay with that. If you're expecting it, you can work through it and manage it so much better. Know that the roles will not be equal, but set up a plan ahead of time to try your best to make it fair. Talk about how to maintain your sense of independence and your relationship, just the two of you without the baby, before you have the baby. And then, yeah, just communicate. Like, over-communicate all the time, I think. Because in the early stages, and I mean, Daniel, you remember, this was I don't know how old she was. Maybe a month, 2 months, under 3 months, I don't know. And I think you saw that I was struggling, and you felt that we needed a break. So you were like, hey, our friend agreed to come watch the baby. We can go out to dinner and watch a movie, just us.
Oh.
Yeah. And then I started bawling my eyes out because I was like, but I don't want to leave the baby. And then, like, the thought of leaving her made me cry because I was so dramatic and hormonal. And you're like, okay, let's not do that idea. That is a bad idea. Yeah. But it's just, I don't know. You said it was a joke. I don't know if you actually meant it or not.
It was a joke, 100%. You can check the text. I didn't ask nobody to help. I was just like, let's just test the waters here, right? Let's dip the toes in, see how it is. And then, needless to say, I have not even joked about it since.
It was a hurricane, yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I'm kind of with you too, though. Like, it's weird. It's like, it's your baby, right? It's like, even with our dog. cat, like if someone's like coming to like house sit or even leaving them over, like I'm like, oh my gosh, you know. But then when it's your baby, it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not even like a trust thing, I don't think.
It's really
like,
not
it's
a
not
trust
that
thing.
you don't
It's not
mistrust anyone, but you're just like, I just don't want to give her up, you know?
I know, that's my thing. I was like, I don't want to share her. Like, I don't want to spend time away from her.
Yeah, that's what it is, yeah. Like, if we're there, like, people, you can hold my baby, like, as long as you want, however, you know? But it's just like, if we're like away, like, whew.
I know, I'm going to be an absolute wreck when we do have to get to that. But, I mean, do we need time alone? Just me and you? Yes, I do think so. But I do really appreciate you for respecting my anxiety around leaving her with someone else. Mm-hmm. And I'm so glad that you can understand that, because not all partners can. Some people are like, no, leave the baby. Why don't you want to leave her with someone else? And I'm like, I can't. There's just not a shot. At least not right now. But I do feel like we did a good job with compromising with that, though, because, like, I started putting her to bed a little bit earlier. Mm-hmm. That way we can have our alone time and do, like, a little bitty baby date night downstairs, like, just us, where we can, like, cuddle and watch TV. I'm talking, like, an intentional, let's watch this show together and add our commentary, not just like, okay, let's browse Netflix and couch rot. You know what I mean? But like, stuff like that, or like we play a card game together, or we just talk, whatever. Mm-hmm. But I think that can kind of help bridge the gap. Because for me, it's kind of like that whole go slow to go fast type of thing. Like, I discovered that in order for me to feel closer to you in our marriage, I needed more intentional family time. Yeah. And like bonding time with all three of us. Like, I needed to see you and her playing together and spending one-on-one time together in order for me to feel more connected to you and to feel more drawn to you as a partner. So, I don't know, just little stuff like that I think goes a long way. Yep. And yeah, I mean, shoot, if you're not, because I was prepped for it, because I saw all this stuff that said, hey, when you have a baby, your marriage goes to shit. And I was like, love that. Very encouraging. So I was kind of tracking it ahead of time. I don't know if you really were or not. I can't remember if I shared
me,
that
I'm
with
like,
you.
oh, yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. But I do feel like a lot of people, at least, I don't know, like I said, like, because some people have talked to me and they're like, there's just this conception that having a baby fixes relationships. And that's just not the case. And so I don't want people, even if you are in a good spot in your relationship now, I just want people to kind of be tracking like, hey, this may happen. Maybe it won't, right? Yeah. But, I mean, according to these stats, I feel like, you know, it does happen if a fifth of partners are filing for divorce and officially splitting up. Yeah. Let alone 38% are satisfied. Yeah. Like, that's not a high stat. That is a failing grade. But yeah. I don't know. I just think it's important because we do, especially with parenthood and raising children, like, that shit is glamorized on social media. So I don't know. I just think it's important to just so you're tracking ahead of time, you know? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you're at least prepared. Because best thing you do, you prep for it, and then you find out, like, hey, this isn't so bad and we do love each other. Cool. Now your relationship's even stronger. You know, it doesn't hurt to be overly prepared, I don't think.
Especially because, like, I think the most important thing, obviously, even arguably more than our relationship, is our relationship with her and making sure that, you know, she's happy and getting to spend time. I think the worst, because obviously with this job, right, like, yeah, it's a 9 to 5, but also, like, cool, you know, I got a kid that's like, I got to come with my parents because I'm 17, and the earliest I can get there is 5, so then obviously I try and let you know as soon as I can. But it's just like, there's nothing worse than leaving early, because, you know, I've had some long days where, like, I had to leave the house early before she even woke up, and then I came back and you're already putting her to bed, and I'm like, I basically didn't see my daughter at all today.
Right.
And I feel like that easily, like, could have caused a rift too, you know, between us as well, because it's just like, I don't know, at the end of the day, like, there's nothing more important than her. Yeah. And so obviously, like, getting my groove now, like figuring out like, hey, like I'm setting these hard boundaries. Like if I know that I'm gonna go into work early that day, then I'm not working late, right? And vice versa, things like that. Knowing that there's nothing more important than the time that I do have with her, because again, like before I know it, she's already rolling around and freaking yelling, and doing all the things that I do that she's seen for me, right? Rolling around the ground together, and like even if she doesn't remember it, like we're gonna remember it,
Her nervous system will remember it.
Yeah, that too.
The implicit memory is real, guys.
Yeah.
It is real.
And so I think that's like the most important thing is like whether your relationship's great or not, like it's gonna hinge a lot on the fact of how, much of a priority you put your baby, and she has to be like number one, Because I feel like the relationship will work if you place your baby at number one, right? But like if you don't, then everything else realistically could like
will kind of crumble.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because we can't have a good relationship if we aren't like on the same page about her,
Yeah. And also, I mean, kids can pick up on that. Even if she's little, like babies borrow the nervous systems of their caregivers because they can't really regulate their own emotions yet. They can't even regulate their body temp and their heart rate. They like borrow it basically from the moms, and they regulate themselves based off of the mom. And so, yeah, if things are tense with your partner, let's just say, like, you're going to have a stressful, agitated, uptight baby, And I mean, that's not good for them. And no one wants that. No one wants to see their baby struggle. Yeah. And also, it's a hard enough time. You don't want to struggle. I don't want to see you guys struggle. And so, I don't know. Yeah, I think it's just communication and also having, like, an understanding perspective with your partner. Because like you said, okay, when you're working crazy hours, it's tough on me because, okay, now I feel like a single parent.
Yeah.
It's tough on you because you're not getting that. I don't feel like a
parent at all.
Yeah, but like you're not getting that time with your baby. Like you're having to hear from me, hey, she just rolled over for the first time. Hey, she just laughed for the first time. Mm-hmm. Hey, she just did this for the first time. You're not getting to experience any of that. And so I'm sure, and I think that's where that whole fatherhood is lonely. I think that's where that comes in, because I'm sure you don't love missing all of these moments. I don't love that you're not there for all of these moments with me, so on and so forth. And so, yeah, if you're not open with your communication, it's just going to crumble,
Ooh, and one thing that kind of like scared me, because when you got sick, like what, last week or 2 weeks ago? And I've like never seen you sick since I've known you. I think I've seen you sick like twice, and one of them was COVID, and it wasn't even that bad. Because when I had COVID, let's be real, my immune system kind of sucks. But when I had COVID, like I legit like thought I was gonna die, and you had it, and you were like,
common cold. I still had to go into work. Remember that? Because it was after 5 days after the symptoms started. Yeah.
And what's crazy is like, who knows about the actual scientific fact of it, but pretty sure, like, because she didn't really get sick at all. Like, I think she coughed a little bit, sneezed, had a little bit of runny nose, but, like, didn't have a fever. She was a little warm, but nothing crazy, like, nothing alarming, like, just normal stuff. And, probably because obviously she's, like, you're producing through the breast milk the nutrients she needs. But also, since you're sick, like, you're already in a deficit. So I was just like, oh, my gosh, like, are you going to make it? And you ended up, well, because your fever wasn't breaking, and for like 4 days.
You thought you were about to be a single dad?
Yeah, I was like, dude, I hope the SGLI is all updated, and like, I guess I'll just figure it out. Aww. Take her to work day. I'm cool with it. So it's just like, but yeah, no, I just like, yeah, with that being said, like, for all you future moms out there, potentially, I'm like, y'all doing it. Y'all doing it. Moms, women, everywhere, everybody, y'all keep doing what you do. It's amazing.
Is there anything else that you want to add on that you don't feel like we touched on enough on fatherhood, on being a husband with the baby, like anything like that? This is your time to shine. Like I said, I know you've been wanting to do this episode for a while, so I want to make sure that you have your outlet, because guys never get to talk about stuff like this.
Yeah, thanks. I think like I try and do my best to like, you know, like cut the fruit in the morning for you. And again, like I know I've been hit or miss for a little bit.
You've been a very good Asian dad with your fruit cutting. I have appreciated
Thanks. Yeah, and it's just like just trying to kind of pick up like cause you know you're like, hey, I got my weekly schedule, and so you have each day where you're like, I'm gonna clean the restrooms this day, or you know I'm gonna vacuum the whole house this day, and all that. But also I'm like, yeah, but like this is a job, you know. It's just the difference between my job and yours is I actually get paid, and you take care of her, and obviously to a certain level, yes, there's satisfaction, but also it's like a thankless job essentially, you know. But also, again, like I say, like there's nothing more important than raising her. I think personally, like, yeah, I think she agrees, you know. She's like just so smiley, like happy all the time. And I just like, again, there's like nothing more important, you know. So yeah, I just like, I don't know. I don't really got much to say. I can't complain. You know, it's just, again, like you said, like she's at that phase where I'm like, yeah, this is it. You know, she's moving around. She's engaging in stuff. So it's just like, I don't know. Not that I didn't love her before, but I'm just like, it's about to get so much fun, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, you know me, I can't wait for her to do things like sports, use instruments, like I'm ready to drive her wherever she need to go, soccer practice, all that good stuff, whatever it is. And I don't know. I think time's just going too quick. I'm actually kind of scared for her to start like crawling around and talking. Because of my luck, once she starts talking, she ain't never going to stop for the next however many years I'm alive, you know? Realistically.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she just needs to stop growing. She's getting way too big.
What advice do you have for any soon-to-be dads out there?
Oof, man. I think, goodness gracious. I think for me personally, it's just not focusing on like again, like the highs are highs, the lows are lows, right? And I like to try and like, you know, kind of stay neutral, if that makes sense, right? Like again, enjoy the highs, but like take the lows like as neutral as you can. Because it's really easy when you hear like, I don't know about most normal human beings, like when I hear a baby crying, like my first instinct, this has had to change. Like now I'm like, oh my God, like my baby, let me pick her up. But like initially I'm like, oh my gosh, like why is that alarm going off? It's so loud and I can't, like what can I do to turn it off? Yes. And now I just like realize that it's just her being like, hey, I know if I scream in this loud, annoying noise to get your attention, you'll come and give me the attention I need. And typically we just pick her up, change her diaper, rock her, whatever it is. Sometimes there's nothing you can do. Just be prepared for that. I don't care what you do. They don't stop crying. And then, you know, again, you just got to hold her. Yep. And then she giggles like that and you're like, oh my gosh, my heart. But, you know, it's just, I think it's very like, it's just easy to get kind of like swayed by, you know? I mean, again, like this job is like difficult as any job can be, right? Like I think just making sure you leave all that crap at the door when you come in, making sure that you can separate that is huge. You don't want to like have a bad day at work and then bring it home. Because again, when it was just us, I could be like, dude, this day sucked. And then you'd be like, oh yeah, my day sucked too. And that's kind of it, you know, if that makes sense. And now it's like, well, I don't want her to grow up and like first thing I do when she sees me is I'm just in a pissed mood, just complaining, you know.
Yeah.
I hope I'm not doing that. I try and like be, you know, cheerful, and I get to hold her, and then it makes me happy anyway. So it like kind of works out. But yeah, I appreciate y'all listening to me. Thanks for having me.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, we will close out the episode there.
Parenthood 10 out of 10 recommend though. I didn't get to say that.
Yes, 10 out of 10 recommend. Gold star.
Yep. Highest of highs.
Lowest of lows. Huh.
Alright.
Alright, y'all. Make good choices. Be a decent human being. Take care of each other. And be nice to your partner. Maybe check in on them every now and then. And I will catch y'all next time. Okay, bye.